Hello guys, welcome back to ESENtaxa. Dropito here. I'm going to give you 5 tax tips, tax behaviors, taxpayer behaviors you're supposed to follow at the end of the year in order to spare some taxes. If you're new to this channel, first I want to remind you that ESENtaxa talks about how to optimize your taxation to relocate in a specific country. We are #1 channel in English language that explains the Italian tax system and how to optimize taxes in this country, and we do the same for Belgium, Portugal, Albania, and Republic of San Marino. And in this specific video I want to give you these 5 tips to basically have the possibility to optimize taxes by your own with your active behavior, so being a sort of proactive taxpayer. Okay, now the first suggest that I want to give you guys before the tax year ends is the following. You have to reduce your taxes. Keep in mind that certain countries, such as Italy, for example, allows you to have personal expenses also as a deductions. What are those personal expenses? Those are, for example, expenses in the sphere of health care. For example, you went to a doctor, you pay for your medical visits, then you might deduct certain percentage of this cost. You went to the hospital, you had to do some exams, you have to check your health, and basically all those expenses can be used to reduce your tax bill at the end of the tax file return, at the end of the year. Another expenses that you can take into account are all those expenses that are in the sphere of in ecological improvement. For example, you're purchasing a electric car in Italy. Do you know that you can deduct the expenses, a percentage always, of the expenses for electric car, electric charge, and electricity itself? You see, also if you want to install solar panel on the top of the roof. I'm just giving you classical examples that nowadays are used to reduce your taxes. So basically, if you paid through your bank account, through a paycheck, all these expenses for your personal reasons, you might be liable of tax benefits. So check with your accountant these kind of expenses before the end of the year. We do also in ESENtaxa this service. We basically check if certain list of expenses might be liable of tax benefit or tax deductions. The second important tax tips that I want to give you, or tax behavior, is asking tax simulations to your accountant. Why? Because before the end of the year, you might adjust your income, you might adjust your revenue. As I said before in the previous point, you can add some more expenses, and these kind of things cannot be done when the tax year is closed. So when you wake up one day, the next following year, and you thought about, oh, I forgot to give to my accountant this kind of expenses, or I forgot to give my accountant this kind of income, etc., etc., the damage is done because the tax year has been closed and you can do nothing basically to repair your damage. Always follow this habit. Talk to your accountant before the end of the year, most likely November, December, and ask for simulations, because you will check based on your income the simulated tax to pay for the following year, and then you can maybe adjust something. Why you can adjust something? Because you might be, for example, at the limit of a next threshold, a next tax bracket, at the limit of a tax bracket that basically if you pass it, you're going to pay for the next income a higher tax rate. This is the classical. But if you stay below that kind of threshold, you might spare some taxes. And now we go straight to the point number 3, the third tips. So in Italy, for example, we have some tax regimes, such as the Forfait Regime. The Forfait Regime has the threshold of 85,000 euro per year. So if you pass this threshold, basically you exit the Forfait Regime for the following year. So be careful about this point. And make sure with your accountant that you don't pass certain tax break and certain threshold, because you might risk to go to the ordinary regime where the taxation is extremely heavy, and then it doesn't make sense to invoice more. Sometimes it makes more sense to stop invoicing, to renounce to some clients on some commissions, on some tasks, and don't get paid before the end of the year in order to avoid passing the threshold for just a few euro. To imagine that you pass the threshold for 5 euro, 10 euros, and then you have to pay a huge amount of taxes, while in a Forfait regime you will pay only 10%, 50%, only 20%. And if you go to the ordinary regime, in Italy for example, you might pay 50%. So, and it's the same concept for other jurisdictions. For Belgium, it's exactly the same thing. Or you basically avoid to jump to the next tax bracket, as I was saying before, from 23% up to 35% or even 43%. So try to tax simulate with your accountant and stay below the thresholds that you have previewed in the end of the year. So sometimes you can also ask to your client, this is a nice strategy, please don't pay me now, let's pay me straight in January, okay? Or I don't issue invoices with the date of 2023, for example, but I'm going to issue the invoices at the beginning of January 2024, and we don't account that kind of operation, we don't do it now, because maybe that operation, it's a bigger one, and might lead you to exit some tax benefit that you want to exit absolutely, because then moving to the next level is gonna basically gonna oblige to pay so much taxes that the net in your pocket will be lower even though you're working more. So be careful about this point. A fourth point that I want to suggest is check the convenience of the penalties. This is also another strategy that a lot of people are not thinking about it. So ask to your accountant before the end of the year, but what happens if I don't pay this tax? What happens if I don't account, if I don't advance the taxation? Sometimes Italy asks you to advance taxes for the following year. What if I don't have enough money in my bank account? What if I don't pay? And then the accountant can simulate you the convenience of the type of penalties, a type of fines, a legal interest that you can opt for. In Italy, you can choose. I can have a payment plan, a delayed payment plan, in which I just pay legal interest and no fines. This is a classical. So, for example, I know that I have used all my money for business reasons, and I don't have enough money to pay my taxes. I didn't simulate correctly my taxes the previous year. I didn't follow the third step, as I was saying before. And now I'm in a situation where I cannot pay anything, only the half of it. What do? You declare always everything, because you must declare everything to the state. Don't evade any taxes. It's very important that you declare everything that you have earned. But what you can do, you can delay your payment. You can ask to the state to delay your payment and ask with your accountant which is the best payment plan, which is the best convenient fines, because there are also type of fines. I want to delay my payment for 3 years. What is the convenience? Sometimes it's better than ask the delay to the state rather than ask money to the bank or other financial institution to pay taxes right now and then pay them back with higher interest. Keep in mind that Italy applied the legal interest, which are quite low compared the interest of financial institutions. So don't worry if you are not able to respect some deadlines. You can also pay later and provide and prepare with your accountant a payment plan. Okay, so this is something that a lot of people are not thinking about. Maybe because in their country of origin things are different, but in Italy it's not the same case. The fifth tips that I want to give you guys is, if you are thinking to relocate to a certain country, such as Italy or another country, or for example, you are living in Italy and you decide to move outside Italy, moving to another jurisdiction, always get the information of this new jurisdiction at the end of the year. Why? Because at the end of the year, they will be published the budget law of that specific country. So you will be updated before the movement, before the relocation. I know that a lot of people are planning 1 year in advance, they project the idea of spare taxes to another jurisdiction, but what happens if the government of this new jurisdiction change idea, and at the end of the year you will know about the news. So always get informed, also at the end of the year, if you already did it at the beginning, because you never know that the government changes some rules, and then it makes that jurisdiction not convenient anymore. And this happened with the Forfait Regime, guys. A lot of people moved to Italy in the half of the year, June, August, September, thinking that, okay, we have the Forfait Regime, 90% deduction if I move in the south, and then the government changed the idea in October. And then all the people already in Italy, they were shocked, they didn't know what to do. And we had to wait at the end of November to see that the government just give you the opportunity to register to the commune instead of have a tax residence and still keep benefit from the 90% deduction. This is one of the examples that might happen. So always get information at the end of the year, because at the end of the year there will be the new budget law for that specific country, and you will know in advance if that kind of tax simulation or tax strategy that you have agreed with your tax consultant will still make sense in the following year, okay? Here in ESENtaxa, we do exactly this. We follow those tips. We help clients to relocate in a specific country, doing the tax simulation, the tax strategies in the right time, in the right moment, and get the most latest updated. If you want to know more about us, how we work, in the description below the video, you will have our email contact, info@esentaxa.com, and also the link to Calendly to book our consultation call, preliminary call only 20 minutes or 1 hour call. And we also offer 1 hour call with tax simulation. So basically we simulate you in the country you want to relocate to and check how much taxes you're going to pay, consider your worldwide income, okay? So stay tuned on ESENtaxa, and if you like this channel, this kind of content, please subscribe the channel, notification bell and like button to be always updated whenever we release this kind of content. Thank you, see you to the next video.